taking place. Even though I do intellectually understand it, emotionally, it's the big thing because, it also has a connection in my head to like genetically modifying, fetuses or whatever, or, when the whole artificial insemination and it's coming. Like we are going to be changing people with the same technology.
Well, people had that reaction to test tube babies, artificial insemination.
Babies or
it was just
designer babies.
It was just not natural. It triggered some revulsion. But if you understand the science, you realize that putting genes from bacteria into corn is no big deal. It's not. There's nothing really different about that or unnatural about it. There's nothing inherently risky in the technology. So, but it is based upon. Because there's just emotional disgust reaction to the notion of it's something foreign, like the fishmado. They're putting fish genes in tomatoes.
That's not natural.
It's meant to trigger disgust.
Right. It's the order of
Meanwhile,
existence.
we share tons of genes with
by
yeast or
fish and tomatoes already share 60% of their genes, although it's hard to quantify that like that. But it's something like that. Yeah. What's the difference between a fish gene and a tomato gene, other than they occur in fish or tomatoes? They're genes. They're just genes.
See, if we had if we had a more scientifically literate population, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. People wouldn't be so afraid.
I agree with that. But again, it's the scientific illiteracy is just justifying the position that they're taking for emotional reasons, either ideological or just because they've been scared about things because someone's pushed their disgust buttons.
Oh, sure.
And then, but then that quest for purity can become an obsession. That's where orthorexia
infinitely easier to frighten people than to
reassure them with abstract information.
Absolutely.
What's interesting is how we can slip into these mind frames, and they can have a dramatic effect on us. Like over the past 5 years, I've really developed a hand washing habit. Partly because I don't want to get sick. Mm-hmm. I work in an office where I'm sharing a kitchen with people and all this stuff. But I'm doing it too much now, and I can simply say in an average day, my paper towel use is through the roof because I'm washing my hands so much. It's over and over again.
How often?
Electric dryer.
Bob, there are times when I'm putzing around the kitchen doing something, and I can wash my hands with soap 4 or 5 times in 10 minutes.
Jeez, don't your
I'm
hands
doing
get all
something
dried out?
That's obsessive.
No, it is, but I'm doing something look, I changed the baby's diaper. I have to wash my hands.
Well, yeah.
Then the dog comes over and literally mouths my hand. I have to wash my hands. I can't just let that go. Right? But it does happen quite a bit. I'll cut something with a knife and I get some juice on my hand. I wash my hands. I'm tracking it now. I'm literally, I'm doing it too much.
Too much for what?
Too much meaning I think I'm a little
You're
too...
You're obsessing about it?
Yeah, in a way I think I've just unconsciously just become very obsessed with washing my hands and now I'm questioning how many times did I actually prevent myself from getting sick by doing it? Is it actually helping?
Well, just so now that you're asking an evidence-based question, which is interesting. So for example, if you obsessively wash your hands, you definitely will prevent the spread of communicable diseases, right? So if you're around people who have the flu or the cold or whatever and you wash your hands, you will reduce your chance of getting it.
Right. At work, so I do wash my hands a lot more at work.
Or if you are sick, you will reduce your risk of passing it on. But if you're doing it without you being sick or being exposed to people who are sick, you're just doing it all the time. It's actually questionable, but some people have raised the possibility that if you're too obsessively hygienic, that you actually may deprive your immune system from a regular workout. It actually could be a problem for your immune system. That maybe we're too sterilized. But that's still an open question. I don't think that the science... I'm going to reserve my judgment on that because the science is open and I'm ready to modify my opinion based upon new evidence.
But you have to...
That is raised as a possibility.
It's just one of those things. We have to witness our own behavior. You know? And I try to practice that. And I just had this observation recently. I think I'm obsessively washing my hands.
I minimize my use of door handles. Yeah. If there's a kick plate on a door, I'll kick the door open. If I'll use my forearm sometimes to push a door open, if I have to use a handle, then that'll do it.
Yeah.
So I try to limit my handle use.
Like the bathroom door at work.
I take the towel. I take the paper towel and you open the door.
I've never touched that.
I don't think that's.
Well, that makes sense because if you wash your hands, you dry and you're all clean, then you go and open the door. You've just reinfected yourself with every whatever bacteria and virus that's been left on the bathroom door handle. you're supposed to like, if you really want to be clean, like not touch anything once you've washed your hands, in the bathroom.
Right. The bathroom.
One thing not to forget is why are you washing your hands so much so that you don't then touch your face?
Yeah, you go like this. I just
Right.
gave myself every virus.
So if you could just if you could train
flick
yourself
your finger to turn a page or something.
if you could train yourself not to touch your face a lot,
that's
then
hard.
It is hard.
You're better off washing your hands.
Yeah.
Steve, people are asking us what's the best place for them to ask
face,
questions.
Yeah.
The Twitter feed, the
Well,
hashtags SGU Live.
Well, because I think it's easier for people to actually do it on the YouTube.
Why?
Because some people don't have a Twitter account.
Yeah, but I'm following the Twitter account.
Well, I'm following the YouTube account.
But I'm following Twitter.
You do Twitter and I'll do YouTube.
So either one.
YouTube or Twitter, folks.
All right. We have our next interview coming up.
Okay,
Right now.
I'm going to take a food break.
You take a food break, and we will do the interview, and then we'll just rotate out for food. Okay, we're going to Joseph Schwartz.
You can ask him the question, Steve? The burning question? I'm going to go sit on the other side.
Yeah, guys, squeeze in. Joe, welcome to the Skeptic's Guide.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Hi, Joe.
Very well.
All right, I've got your video maximized. So, you haven't been on the show before, so we should introduce you. You are a Canadian. You're essentially the Canadian me, if I could summarize things quickly.
Well, that's a compliment.
You are an activist involved in just trying to inject a little bit of science and rationality into popular perception of medicine and medical issues. But why don't you tell us your credentials?
Well, my degree is in chemistry, and I've been at McGill University as a professor since about 1980. And about 16 years ago, the university decided that, there's so much nonsense out there in terms of poor scientific information that we need to do something about it. And the university basically decided that the way to go was to create our office, which is called the Office for Science and Society. And it is a place where people can come and address their questions. Mm-hmm. And we disseminate what I hope is good, unbiased scientific information. We do a lot of things. I have a weekly radio show that is local in Montreal, but it can be listened to around the world on the web like you guys. It's every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. I write a weekly column. I've written 15 books. I've done over 1,000 TV appearances, including 20 years of being on the Canadian Discovery Channel. Mm-hmm. So we've kind of had an impact doing the same kind of things that you guys do. And as I heard you discuss in the previous hour, there's always a question of, just what is the impact? How much good do we do? Hard to say, but if you do nothing, then of course you will get nowhere.
That's the point.
Right.
So sometimes I must say that it feels like we're swimming up Niagara Falls because of the tsunami of misinformation out there. But every once in a while you win the odd little battle, and that gives you a lot of comfort.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I often ask, well, what do you think the world would be like if there was nobody trying to set the record straight when it comes to science and critical thinking, right? If there was no skeptics promoting reason and rationality, it certainly wouldn't be better,
No, absolutely. My experience has been that they're basically among the population, there are categories of people that I've kind of encountered in my media appearances and public lectures. There are those who are, properly scientifically based and are skeptical, who know what things are, what the truth is, and you don't really have to bother with them. At the other extreme, you have those whose mind is made up, never mind what the facts say. And unfortunately, you're never going to convince them either. Mm-hmm. These are the creationists, these are the homeopaths, these are the ones who believe in all the nonsense. But in the middle, you have a category of curious people who legitimately don't know. Mm-hmm. And they are befuddled by all the information that drifts their way. And there's a tremendous amount of that, of course. I mean, we have something like 10,000 journals these days spewing out information at the rate of about 5 papers every minute, 365 days a year. It's impossible to keep up even in a small sliver of that, information. So they are indeed confused. and they want to know. And so there we have a chance of swaying them by providing the proper scientific information. And I think it is possible to do that in a palatable way. And that's what I've always emphasized. You know, the analogy that I like to use is that you can listen to music and you can appreciate music without ever being able to play music. Well, you can do the same thing with science. You can understand it and appreciate it. You don't necessarily have to be a scientist in order to understand it.
Yeah, we actually had that discussion in a recent, while we were at Nexus, although I don't think it made it onto the show. That's going to probably be premium content. The difference between appreciating, being a fan of art and being a fan of science. And they sort of we made that analogy, like you can appreciate music without being a musician. You can appreciate science without being a scientist. But you do, the more you understand, the more you can appreciate it. I think that's fair to say.
Absolutely. And I'm obviously a very, very big advocate of science at an early level in elementary school, because it's there that you develop the basis, not only for knowledge, but also for critical thinking. And what I emphasize, because I go out to a lot of schools and I speak to the students, both elementary and high school, and one of the factors that I really emphasize is how we in the scientific realm know what we know. Because let's face it, no matter what area you're in, your actual hands-on experience is very limited. So we rely on the scientific literature. We rely on the peer-reviewed literature. So I think it's very important to explain to students and to the public at large how we know what we know and how the scientific literature comes about and what editors do and what the peer review process is. We, of course, worship at the altar of peer review, but sometimes too much so, because it can bite us, as, of course, we know with Andrew Wakefield and the terrible paper on linking autism and vaccination. That appeared in The Lancet, one of the prime publications in the world, because, of course, the peers or the referees do not redo the work. They have to assume that whatever is submitted was done and that the information actually exists. So I think this is something that's very important to get across to the public and to students of how we know what we know and why something that is published in New England Journal or in the Journal of the American Chemical Society is more reliable than something that you hear from the food babe.
Right. I do think that you make a good point about the fact that there's an overwhelming amount of scientific evidence that's coming out on a regular basis, tens of thousands of individual studies being published a year, if you look at across all fields. And they're often very technical and difficult to understand. So I do think that you could think about it that we need like this pyramid where information gets distilled down from multiple layers before it gets to the public layer, the layer where it's affecting society in general. You need experts, like these very few experts at the top who are the technical experts in a very narrow, rarefied area. But that needs to get plugged into sort of a more of an understanding of the field as a whole and then of science in general. And you need people who can sort of translate it, who can understand it, sort of bring it to that next layer, right? And I think that we need people like you and people like the skeptical movement who are, I think we are in a critical position of trying to bridge that gap between sort of academia and the public and society. And I think like the Office of Society and Science, it's exactly what universities should be doing. And we need more of them, I think, to do that, because there is, I think, that gap in there where we're not really doing enough.
Well, one problem, though, that we face with the onslaught of scientific information and peer-reviewed published literature is that not all peer-reviewed literature is of the same quality. Like everything else in life, it works on a bell curve. You have some outstanding publications, you have some very poor publications, and you have mostly mediocre ones in between. And these days, it's possible to cherry pick data and back up almost anything you want to back up. If you want to portray bisphenol A, for example, as a chemical from hell, it's possible to do that. If you want to portray it as our savior, you can do that as well. And unfortunately, when journalists get into this game, because of the way that they've been taught in journalism school, they will go and interview one expert on one side, interview another expert on the other side, write a report which kind of implies that these two opinions are of equal weight, which is almost never the case. One side may have the majority of the scientific opinion behind it. The other one may have a few rogue outliers. This, of course, is what we see in climate change.
Right.
And yet, when you read lay accounts, you kind of get the impression that, this is sort of equally balanced and we don't really know. Well, that's not the case. And so this is something that we struggle with all the time, is that, there is information out there which the activists and the alarmists point at, which does come from the scientific literature. It's just that it isn't representative of the totality of the literature. And that's something that, I think we need to point out over and over again, is that science proceeds by consensus, by not by giant leaps, but by a sequence of tiny little steps. Giant leaps are only made by, the activists who really don't know what the truth is. And it's a complicated business, but, we're up against charmers like the Food Babe. And, I've been struggling with this lady now for a couple of months because it's such a fantastic sociological phenomenon. I mean, she has come out of nowhere with zero scientific background, no knowledge of genetic modification.
She's a computer scientist.
She has some undergraduate degree in computer science, but all of a sudden she's become the savior. She's become the knight in shining armor who's going to lead us out of the wilderness and out of the clutches of this unholy alliance between scientists, medical doctors, and the academic establishment who are, of course, trying to undermine our health and kill us off. And she's got all of the answers. And you were talking before about people who concentrate all the time on eating the right foods and eating safe, etc. Well, she's a typical example of this, suggesting that just by following her, because she's of course got a book out, the Food Babe Way, that if you go the Food Babe Way, you don't have to worry about any kind of disease, because if you just eat the right way and follow her instructions, everything is going to fall into place.
Simple.
It's really tragic that she has over 1 million followers on Facebook. Which is just an astounding amount. I mean, she's reaching Dr. Oz kind of numbers. Oz at least has some kind of scientific background. This lady has zero scientific background.
Yeah, she should not be doing what she's doing.
She's a populist who's pushing emotional buttons. And, if you do that in an effective sort of marketing way, you could become big. And that's what she's doing.
Absolutely. And she, of course, she's helped by the fact that she's an attractive lady, and she gets on all of the talk shows. And, I find it quite fascinating that, not long ago, USA Today had a story at that time when Pepsi was talking about switching to sugar from high fructose corn syrup. Now they're, of course, talking about switching out of aspartame, which is another story.
That's right, because Pepsi announced.
Anyway, at that time, there was this issue of going back to natural sugar.
Natural cane sugar, 100% natural cane sugar.
And so this was a front page article in USA Today. And who is the, quote, expert that they go to get a commentary about this? They go to Vanny Harry, a.k.a. the Food Babe. They don't go to Steve Novella.
Yeah.
They don't go to David Gorski. They don't go to Harvard School of Public Health. They don't go to Marion Nestle. They don't go to people who actually know something about this. They go to the Food Babe, who couldn't possibly tell you what high fructose corn syrup actually is and what the difference is between that and sugar. And yet, this is where the popular media goes.
So is she as well recognized in Canada as, say, the United States?
She is, unfortunately, probably thanks a lot to me, because I've talked so much about her on my Facebook page that I probably introduced her to people who had never heard of her, and that's always that's always a problem as well. But I must say though that at least to me, Facebook has been. It's been very good. When I first heard about it, I didn't think much of it. Of course, like most people, I first heard about it from my daughter, because, younger people are into this kind of thing way before we are. And I didn't see any reason to get into it, but then eventually I did. And now I see that it's just a fascinating way to connect with the public. and get information out there. And also, what really has happened is that I hear a lot of things that otherwise I might not hear.
Right.
You know, I hear about all the crazy scares out there. You know, and so it gives you a chance to react. It gives you a chance to put your fingers on the pulse of the public.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've been putting a lot of effort into our own Facebook page over the last year, especially. We're up over 750,000 likes. We're 760,000 from just.
Well, you may catch the food baby.
Yeah,
yet.
we'll see.
Let's hope.
We're hoping, but yeah, I mean, I do think though that the media they do come to us sometimes too. I mean, but I agree that the big problem is what you described as false balance. That science journalism is different than general journalism, and you can't apply the same rules.
Right.
You know that, and we have generalists doing science journalism and doing it badly, and their go-to default is just this false balance that you described. I think that's a huge problem, and which is getting worse because we're in a transition in terms of the journalism infrastructure.
With the exception of the BBC.
The BBC did
That's
come
the
out
exception.
about 6 months ago saying that, eschewing false balance specifically, saying we're instructing our journalists to no longer go for the false balance, which I think the realization of the whole idea of false balance is coming largely from the global warming phenomenon.
Yes,
I think because that's the big issue.
That's a driver, I would say.
And I think also, skeptics pointing it out, people who are trying to popularize science who realize that that's the problem. So, what do you feel about that? Have you had that experience too? Do you think we're making some headway in terms of educating the journalists?
The BBC, of course, does an excellent job.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question they do superb science programming. And in Canada, we have our analog, which is the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Again, they have no funding from any vested interest because there's no advertising on the CBC. So they do a very good job. And just a few weeks ago, they actually gave me a chance to debate a professor of pharmacy at University of Toronto who's involved in doing a study, believe it or not, on homeopathy. Mm-hmm. And Steve, I know you know about this because I asked you to sign the letter that we had submitted, which basically asked her just to explain why on earth she was doing a study on attention deficit hyperactivity disorder using homeopathy in children. Yeah. This is the dean of pharmacy at the largest university in North America, which is the University of Toronto, with 75,000 students. And they're doing a study on homeopathy, and this was just befuddling. So we did send a letter signed by 80, top-notch scientists from around the world, certainly not saying to her that she shouldn't do it. I mean, it's not a question of interfering with academic freedom. Anyone can study anything that they want to study, especially if they have private funds to do that. But you should be able to rationalize it. I mean, you should be able to explain to your colleagues why you are doing something like that when there is ample evidence that it has essentially zero chance of coming up with any kind of positive result. So the CBC did give me a chance to debate her on the radio. I'm not sure, how many minds were changed by that, but at least a public broadcaster like that, it's nice that they do that. And of course I also do these kind of things on my own radio show, and I do invite on people who are opposed to some of my views to debate, because I think it's just a good way to get things out there. Mm-hmm. I have offered, or I've extended an invitation to the Food Babe on numerous occasions, mm-hmm. and I know that she has. Yeah, and I know that she has gotten it because I know she monitors my Facebook page because she posts videos and little things that she's seen there. But no, she has not responded to that.
So even though
I would treat her properly. I mean, I certainly would be polite to her. But we would have a proper scientific discussion, if
but
that's
how could
possible.
you have a proper scientific discussion with her when she doesn't know what a proper scientific discussion is?
And of course, one of my real pet peeves about this lady is that if you don't agree with her views and you express something on Facebook, she bans you. I mean, I've been banned from her Facebook page. And I've tried to explain via third parties to her that this is really not the way to go. This is not how the scientific world works. Mm-hmm. You get into discussions. You don't stick your hand in the sand and pretend that the other side doesn't exist. But so far, it has fallen on deaf ears.
Yeah, she's not interested in that. That's not.
No,
not
well, I mean, I think the truth is that she really couldn't hold her own in a debate, and she knows that. She knows that. And it's interesting, it's that she can just stand there on that pulpit and broadcast. And of course, we see, unfortunately, the same thing with our pal Dr. Oz, who's built this gigantic pulpit essentially on silliness.
Yeah.
And, the tragedy about him is that he could be doing such good things, and he sometimes does. They have a lot of funding for that show, so they build these gigantic colons and hearts, and he walks through it and explains, which he does very well because, of course, he does have the proper training. And then in the next breath, he'll be talking to the dead or, promoting green coffee bean extract. And how on earth does that jive with anything scientific?
It doesn't, and that's what makes him extra dangerous, is that the people don't know the difference. They don't know when he's talking about real science and when he's not talking about people. His audience thinks he's talking about real science all the time. They take it all.
Right, Evan. But you could also argue that he would not be nearly as popular as he is if he was straight science.
Yeah, we just don't know. I mean, Bill Nye got famous without pushing pseudoscience into mixing pseudoscience with science. But actually, I had someone say to me, because I was on the Dr. Oz show once. So
I know he gave you 5 minutes or so.
He gave me but after that, a lot of people said to me, "It's like, I listen to Dr. Oz, but whenever he talks about that alternative medicine nonsense, I just ignore him." So there are people who do separate it out, at least anecdotally, to me personally. But
the thing is that the seductive nonsense, is more interesting to people than
seductive.
The science.
Absolutely,
sure. Yeah. And it's romanticized, and I mean, it's I can, but it's entertainment. If people understood it as entertainment, okay, but no, people look to him because he's an accomplished surgeon for real scientific advice.
But not according to him. According to him, the doctor is really small in his logo, and Oz is really big. So I do think that Oz is a little bit more vulnerable, perhaps because he is a physician, he's a surgeon, he is an academic, and you can't argue that he doesn't know better. And he has colleagues, who will do things like try to hold him accountable for the advice that he's dispensing on his show, and he's doing a horrible job, I think, of defending himself from those very legitimate accusations and criticisms, regardless of the source. I mean, he's criticized the people who wrote the letter and whatever. That aside, the criticism itself is perfectly legitimate, and his answer to that, I think, was embarrassing.
It was pathetic, actually, the show that he put on, because it was just a series of ad hominem attacks on the signatories of the letter. Yeah. Although I must say, I didn't fully agree with sending that letter.
Yeah, I agree.
It wasn't the way to go, because actually it just gave him a platform, and I think it probably got him more listeners. But his reaction really to that was just
it essentially was
pathetic.
Their shills, and they're trying to oppress my freedom of speech, which is completely besides the point.
Yeah, I mean, no one at all was trying to suppress his freedom of speech.
Right.
They were just pointing out that some of that speech is full of nonsense.
It's full of shit, right.
So, but anyway, I think that the Oz balloon is deflating somewhat, although it's not yet on the verge of popping.
Yeah.
Because, he does have charm, and he speaks well, and he's got a big audience. But I think that there are some chinks in the armor. There are others out there, who are just as damaging, who don't get quite as much attention. And one of my real peeps out there is Mike Adams of Natural.
Yes. Oh God,
no, he's
horrible. He's a living horror.
He's at the far end of the spectrum. He really is.
So I mean, he has essentially, again, no background like the food babe. But he launches these venomous attacks, and of course you're immediately labeled as a shill if you don't agree with him.
Or as Nazis. He compares if you defend the science of genetically modified food, you might as well be a Nazi. And in fact, he all but called for his readers, his followers. He said, it would be morally justified to murder people defending GMOs.
Oh,
yeah. And of course, he's been on with Dr. Oz, which then he uses to legitimize himself. And when he was on, it was actually very funny because he was portraying himself as a chemist.
Yeah.
He was talking about doing analyses for metals, etc., and supplements, and of course, when you really know chemistry, you can read between the lines, and you know that he has no idea what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. What is his job? What is his real job? What does he do? I don't even know.
I don't think he has any real job other than this. I think he's making loads of money from the advertisement that he has on Natural News and from the products that he sells. If you take a look at his shopping list there, I mean, he sells every kind of supplement, and he's got a business going just like Joe Mercola, who's another one of these supplement fiends. He's never met a supplement that.
But we're the shills, right? They're making millions of dollars by selling stuff that they're scaring people into buying. But somehow
we're the shills.
Yeah, we're the shills who, I don't make any money off of
where's our millions?
Talking about this kind of science-based medicine stuff. So yeah, it could be maddening. But again, I do think that despite all their money and all their funding and all their charisma and emotional appeal and all of that, I think the truth has a certain amount of power to it, and I think that there's definitely a lot of value to society if we're just constantly pushing that rock up the hill. Constantly.
I don't think we can win the war against pseudoscience, but I think we can win a number of battles.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to concentrate on. And, so we have to keep at it with stuff like what you guys are doing, the podcasts and then your website and all of that, and public lectures and radio and TV and everything what we can do, and books. I mean, the written word still works.
Right.
And I think that of the kind of response that I've had over the 40 or so years of being in this business, which scares me every time I say those words. But where have the years gone? But I think the sort of the biggest response has been to books, because that's kind of permanent. You do something on TV or you speak on the radio, it has a fleeting existence, but still, on paper, the words are there, and people can go back and refer to them. And my tack with writing my books has been to emphasize relatively short segments, because people these days don't read novels, and they don't like these long epics. So by writing 1,000, 1,500 word pieces, you get the message across. And my idea has been that you can pick up any one of my books and open it at any page and read it and say, gee, that's interesting. I didn't know that. You don't have to read it from cover to cover. You can take it to the toilet with you and read a couple of pages there, and then do it again the next time. And little by little, you learn something.
A word bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What's the latest book that you have out?
The latest book is called Monkeys, Myths, and Molecules. And it's actually just out yesterday. Yesterday was the publication date. And, it's a compendium of everything what I think is interesting, all the way from the smart meters that are being used to monitor, our electrical systems, to genetic modification, to historical accounts of how some drugs were introduced, controversies about things like bisphenol A, the phthalates, and endocrine disruptors. And I try to mix in a little bit of history with some current knowledge, interpretation of that knowledge, and basically get the message across that, look, science is interesting, and that you can make it palatable without trivializing it. So, I fully believe that you can make the kind of difficult concept that we deal with in the skeptical community all the time, you can present it in a way that people can understand without, having them understand complex molecular structures.
I agree. Well, Joe Schwartz, thank you for joining us on the Skeptics Guide and joining us for our 10-hour marathon. We really appreciate it. Thanks for all the work you're doing.
Well, thanks very much, and happy anniversary to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Maybe we'll check in again on the 20th anniversary.
Absolutely. All right.
Sooner.
It's a date. Take care.
Thanks very much.
Okay, Ev, I'll swap with you.
Okay.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Guess what? Rebecca wants to.
I heard.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We've got a surprise guest, a non-scheduled interview. Bob, you going to join us for this?
Oh, Bob's going to eat.
All right.
Oh, okay. So Bob's not going to join us?
Bob, why don't you join us for this part?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, you guys got to scoot down so I can.
It's Rebecca.
Okay,
be
yeah,
in
we can
the
scoot.
shot.
Okay, actually, I don't know if do I have her on this account? No, all right, I'm going to have to get her into this account. So let's talk about something for a minute while we
In the
figure
meantime, May 2nd is also the following days.
Yeah, give it to us.
Sure. Baby Day, Beer Pong Day, Bladder Cancer Awareness Day. That's a serious
Bladder
one.
Cancer Awareness?
Bladder Cancer Awareness Day, Brothers and Sisters Day. So congratulations to all of you. Free Comic Book Day, which we mentioned
That's a
before.
good one. That's a good one.
Global Marijuana March Day. Okay. Herb Day, which I imagine has something to do with Global Marijuana March. Join Hands Day. Shall we all join hands, everyone? Join.
What's joining
Clasp
with
hands
you.
or join hands? It's,
Join hands.
Join
Whatever.
hands. Join Hands Day. Today's the running of the Kentucky Derby. Not sure it's happened yet.
Where is that?
In Kentucky?
It is okay.
Yes. National Home Brew Day. Anyone out there, make beers in their basement or anything? So National Home Brew Day. National Play Your Ukulele Day. That is not a metaphor for masturbation. National Scrapbooking Day. That is a metaphor for masturbation.
Scrapbooking is it's kind of weird, isn't it?
It's very old school.
Yeah, right?
National Truffle Day. Truffles are expensive, aren't they? Robert's Rule of Order Day. Scurvy Awareness Day.
Yar, it's a scurvy.
Treasure.
World Naked Gardening Day.
I like that.
That's a
I
good
like
one.
that.
But why would
I saw a
being naked
pictorial
help?
on that once.
Why does that help?
It doesn't hurt. Well, actually, it can hurt. Bend over and you get the thorn or something.
Ben, good to meet you.
You know, Ben? And World Tuna Day.
How do you get a day like this? And what's the difference between like World Tuna Day and National Truffle Day? I mean, can you apply to get a day, an official
Who
day?
gets to decide what's a
Right,
World
that's the
Light
question.
Day?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. United Nations? I don't know.
Maybe the United Nations. That's a
All right, she's ready.
Perhaps.
okay.
That's the perfect 90-second filler piece.
Yes, that was perfect. Thank you, Evan.
Hello.
And,
Rebecca.
Who's that?
Rebecca.
Who's that?
Hey.
The voice sounds
Hey,
familiar.
there
she is.
Rebecca.
Oh my God, look at that face.
How's it going,
Look
guys?
at that hair.
Good.
You changed your hair color again.
Wow.
I did. I just did it.
Nice.
Thank you.
that's
Glad
a-
you like it.
That's a nice, I like your chair too.
Thank you.
that's a
I got it
cool chair.
used. I have another one just like
Very
it.
nice.
Thank you.
Very classy. Looks like you've been getting a lot of sun.
Yes.
Yeah, look at that tan.
Yeah. Am I tan? I guess. I mean, this might be tan for me. I guess so.
Tan-ish.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, like, you're glowing. Like, I've never seen a better version of you.
So you're hating California is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
California.
You're really missing Buffalo, especially after this winter.
Yeah, right? You didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I missed 7 feet of snow to be exact.
And that's with just one storm.
Yeah, that was like the first weekend of snow they had, 7 feet, and it was really nice to miss that. So yeah, now I live someplace where it's sunny every day, and I go surfing. I just came back from a run, so yeah.
You also seem very relaxed.
Oh well, yeah, I do have a pot card now, so
Oh, yeah.
You need a card? Oh, okay.
a bit more relaxed.
All right, so Rebecca, it's been 4 months or so since we've broken up. What have you been doing? Who have you been sleeping with?
Every other podcast on the planet.
Yeah.
Doing the rounds. I've been busy. I've ramped up my YouTube
Yep,
channel.
we've seen that.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, now doing 2 videos a week. Plus, later on today, I have a live stream that I'm doing for my Patreon patrons with Joseph Scrimshaw, and I do weekly vlog updates. And I'm writing a book now, and so yeah, I've been busy doing
Awesome.
Quizotron. That's another thing.
Yep,
Been
yep.
doing a lot of Quizotrons. So yeah, it's been good.
We missed you. We ran the extravaganza at Nexus with Bill, and totally missed you.
Was it terrible? Was it like everybody was like, "Oh, if only Rebecca were here"?
If that makes you feel better.
No, I heard that it went very well. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there, but you guys, I heard, did a great job without me.
Thank
so
you. But yeah, your presence
I have to admit, I did not miss you for the skeptical
debates.
Yeah, the debates, because you ruled that segment.
That was your segment.
Yeah, it was
Thank
so
you.
yours. Like, I'm glad Rebecca's not here.
That was all thanks to high school level public speaking class.
Hey.
I gotta hand it up to them. What was it called? There's a name for it, like, I don't know, like ad lib debates or something. We used to do those all the time. They were like my favorite thing.
So can we talk about your book? Like, what's the book about?
I mean, I've only like just started it, so I can't say too much because I don't even know what it's about yet. No, it's going to be focused on atheism and women in atheism. So it's, I figured that for my first book, I'll do something that I know a lot about.
In the sweet spot.
Yeah, not a whole lot of extra research that needs to go into this one. So, yeah. I'm excited about doing it though. But yeah, it's early yet, so people shouldn't get all excited just yet. It
Don't run out to Barnes and Noble yet. No.
Yeah.
Wait
pre-order on Amazon.
Are you planning on having something done within a year or so?
I hope so. I mean, at my current pace, I'm very goal oriented. So I'm like, if I write 1,000 words every day, I should have a book length thing by, I'd say like June, like mid-June.
Yeah.
So, but then, there's editing and probably like a few months of just being curled up in bed, like thinking that I'm not good enough and that I should just throw it in the trash. And then another few months of putting it together and publishing it.
So what, is that a shelf behind
then?
you, I see? What is that?
Behind me, that's my record collection.
Records. Okay, I remember those.
Yeah.
Vinyl, huh?
I could give you a small tour of my living room. If you want.
I'm very excited.
And our audience, yeah. Sure.
I have to admit, Rebecca, I've been, I look at pictures up on Facebook and stuff, and it's like, you're having too much of a good life now, and I hate you.
I do. I know. I have the best life, and part of me, I don't want to rub it in people's faces, but the other part of me is I do want to rub it in people's faces. So this is my balcony.
Wait, you have access to the outside?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my balcony.
What are those green things on the wood there? Oh, those are leaves. I remember those.
Yeah, there's trees. I have a basil plant. There's a dead basil plant that
It doesn't look like basil. Is that really basil?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I like to remind the basil of what it might become.
Right.
Right. This could be you.
Yield lots of basil.
And then over there is my bookshelf and my unicorn head and my guitars.
That is one hell of a shelf you have there.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like a divider because that's Adam's workspace over there because we both work from home. So we need, and this is just a one bedroom because this is San Francisco and it's incredibly expensive.
Right.
So we went from like a 5-bedroom in Buffalo to paying 3 times as much for a 1-bedroom.
Oh my God.
So
San Francisco.
Yeah, so this is like my workspace. This is you guys sitting on a...
Watch out, don't do infinity, infinity, no.
Time, space,
falling into that again.
Crisscross thing.
Yeah, and that's Adam's workspace over there. And I can't give you a tour of the rest of the apartment because Adam is asleep.
Wait a second. Adam is asleep in the other room and we're live streaming. You could actually go in with this and view him.
He would.
Yeah, if I wanted to no longer have a boyfriend.
Oh, all right, I was just trying.
Oh, that would upset him. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
He wouldn't see the inherent humor in that.
You let us know. If you ever want to go there, you let us know and we'll help you out.
You'll be the first to know. Hey guys, I want to break up with my boyfriend.
We can handle that for you.
Yeah.
We can take care of it.
Help you.
We're the breakup
We're
squad.
experts at breaking up
We'll
couples.
make it worthwhile.
30 seconds or your next breakup is free.
I broke up their 3 marriages.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's true.
He was instrumental.
You were the
right.
focal point, no doubt about it.
The only common element there.
That's a good point. Well, I mean, I broke up my own marriage too, so I mean,
that's right.
Apparently, there's a bit of a theme.
Our podcast is actually statistically relevant, right? Yes. Yeah.
In some ways.
Well, yeah, and I've now been with Adam for, like twice as long as I was married. So I feel like that should count as a success.
But not as long as you were with the SGU. You have to cross that milestone.
That's the big
You're a few years away from that.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to have to be together like another 5 years, I think, to surpass that.
Good luck, Adam.
Yeah, we'll see.
But Rebecca, don't you miss the nerd cave Skepta-Lair?
Yeah.
I mean, look behind
I
you.
do.
I mean,
Yeah,
Look at it.
it's awesome.
There's lights flashing back there. Look.
Is that a batleth?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Sticking out of Jay's head, yes.
Yeah.
So we actually moved the set. We used to be in our parents' basement. Remember that?
Remember the 24? Yeah.
Now we're
now-
in Steve's basement.
Yeah, we actually built this in Steve's. We refurbished Steve's basement and made our studio. So we're gonna be doing this from time to time. So we'll expect you to pop on.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I feel like I should have my own backdrop. Maybe I'll get just like a green screen, and then
Project
we could just
whatever,
put me like on the Starship Enterprise or something,
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Definitely.
so that I can keep up. But yeah, I like the new set. It looks good. Well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And you're seeing how technologically advanced we have become.
Yeah, I mean, you guys haven't cut out once.
It doesn't
yet.
suck.
Yeah.
We started on time.
You can hear us. You can see
Nice.
us.
I can hear you. I can see you. Evan is a little out of focus.
That's
and
'cause I'm on the
Steve's
periphery
Too much
here.
in
It's just
focus.
he needs a
but-
glass prescription, that's why.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
These
Okay.
things, like.
But yeah, other than that, it's looking good. Who do you have behind the camera?
We have a team of experts headed by Phil Hudson.
Ah, yeah, they're doing a good job.
The DP for the Ox series.
Oh, all right. Yeah. The DP, huh?
Yeah.
I've heard of DP. I guess I need to rewatch that series. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I guess so.
Rebecca, we really miss you. We talk about you in our banter quite a bit.
I miss you guys too. But yeah, I'm glad that you seem to be doing okay.
Somehow.
We're surviving.
Well, I have to be honest with you. I'm happy. Like you said, I'm writing a book. I'm doing. You're ramping up your Patreon and all that. Instead, we could have. We could be seeing a totally beer laden
Doritos everywhere.
Yeah, the beers won't come out for at least another hour.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Oh, look at Rebecca, guys. There's a cat. There's a cat.
Oh, kitty cat.
Other side.
Oh yeah, that's Brendan. Brendan, come here.
The cat responds. Wow.
Yeah, he's a dog, basically. Come here, buddy.
It's a cat dog.
That's interesting. I have a dog that's kind of a cat.
Yeah, Brendan is the one he plays fetch. He talks to us all the time. He's very dog-like. He can walk on a lead.
Ooh.
He has a little harness.
We've been podcasting for 9 years, Rebecca, and I've been trying to get you to show me your pussy, and it took this long.
Oh my God.
How could I not go there?
By just
Not going. By having a modicum
And
of
disappoint
self-control.
Rebecca?
maturity.
I'm glad that nothing has changed.
Oh God.
Ooh, wait for the breast jokes. I mean, that's coming next.
I guess we can't end on that note. So what else can we talk about?
Hey, it could be worse. We could be live.
We just caught up with 4 months. We just did a
We need
4-month
a
catch
palate
up. Right?
cleanser before.
Rebecca, if I don't destroy Steve's career, I'm not trying hard enough.
I just got a text from Liz saying I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the three of us as well. So.
Not
boy.
sorry enough.
Did you see the Avengers sequel?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I had plans to go out last night and see it, and then I got lazy and I made cupcakes instead. So
Hey.
Nothing lazy about cupcakes. Nothing lazy.
We had
I mean, they're
plans to
good-
go see
they're
it
good
too.
cupcakes.
Then we ended
What's
up
that?
troubleshooting our equipment until midnight. So that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think you wouldn't have made it.
No, I know.
The
It was a
lines
pipe
must have
dream.
been horrific. I might need to wait a while.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
at least tomorrow.
I'm not a huge fan of crowds in theaters, but I do like seeing things like that on
big
the
screen.
midnight screening because it's a good energy. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, we'll probably go See, not tonight because it's going to be crowded and stuff. So I'll probably wait until.
Yeah. Well, plus I want to see it on an IMAX 3D screen. I want to go large on this one. It's going to be totally worth it.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
worthy. It's definitely
So I'll probably find like a matinee or something. That's one of the nice things about working from home is that you can just go during the day when everybody's supposed to be working.
You're your own boss.
True.
That's right.
Yep.
All right. So,
Anything else? What do you got?
Anything else?
All right, let's go to your news item.
Cleanse.
What's your news item today?
We do have another interviewee waiting in the wings. But
right.
This is awesome. I'm so glad you were able to join us.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Sorry, it was kind of last minute.
Literally.
We expected nothing else, right? We learned nothing over 9 years.
Here's the note. Here's the note we got like 3 minutes ago.
Saying Rebecca could join us.
Literally, none of us have changed.
Rebecca, we love and miss you.
I love and miss you guys too.
All right.
All right.
Bye, darling.
Bye.
All right. These are yours.
I must eat. And thanks.
Bob's going to go eat.
All right, so Dean is ready to go.
Dean is ready to go.
Dean Cameron.
Yeah.
Ed, you might as well move in a little.
I'm moving in. Taking the Bob seat.
It was really good to see Rebecca. That was awesome.
Yeah. Our SGU alum.
Yeah,
Rebecca
right?
Watson.
That was really awesome.
Yes.
That was me.
So our next interviewee, Dean Cameron, we are in the process of calling.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Cameron.
How are you?
I know you. Look at that. You came prepared.
I did. Wow.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We are now, what are we, 60% of the way through our show?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, 4 hours
Officially.
left.
Officially.
Let's look at the board.
Let's look at the board, yeah.
Let's check the...
See, we had to leave the progressively more exciting people towards the end because we're getting tired. We need more and more energy.
Yeah, you're here to keep us awake
Yes,
now.
That's what I'm saying. You're here to keep us going, keep us awake.
So I should stand all the way up and show you that I'm not wearing pants?
If that's what it takes. Is that all you got? Then yeah.
That's what people usually say when I'm not wearing pants.
That's your go-to.
That's all you got.
That's all you got. You're hired.
Thank you. So where were we?
So what have you been up to?
Yeah, we haven't seen you in a while. What's up, man?
Yeah, where you been?
Sorry. I've been raising a child who's now 5.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah,
a,
son.
that's a
He's
worthy
dynamite,
distraction.
yeah.
So for
Yeah,
our
the
audience,
last-
for who may not know who you are, you're that guy.
I am.
From
I am
the movie.
I am Dean Cameron. I am a professional show business professional who made my bones in movies and stuff in the late 80s and early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've started started pursuing that again full time. I got sick. I was coding. I was web developing for about 10 years, and I got sick of it and realized I wasn't any good at it. So I stopped doing it. My wife is nice enough to sort of support us while I chase my dream again and doing that sort of thing. But I've been involved in the skeptic community. My show, the Nigerian Spam Scam, we performed it at TAM twice.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Thank you. The first time when it was sort of just an idea, and then at 5 years ago, which was the last time I saw you guys, when my wife was pregnant with our son.
That's right.
And then we'll be doing it again at TAM this year.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, on Thursday night, we're doing, and it's an updated version where
Do you get the money?
I get the money. I end up getting a little bit of money from the guy after going back and convincing him that I wrote him as the attorneys, Perry Mason, trying to get money from him.
That's awesome.
The attorney,
And I did.
Perry Mason. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is all just very quickly, no spoilers. It's based upon the very common Nigerian spam scam, where they send you a letter saying, I have $10 million for you, with some flimsy justification, and then they're trying to lure you in, ultimately to kidnap you and take all your money.
Yeah, or that's sort of the end game, but they whatever,
They'll
however
take
much
it.
they can get
Yeah.
from you, they will get from you.
Yeah.
And
I just got it again 2 days ago. It wasn't via email though. It was via Skype. Someone, just called me out of the blue or sent me a message out of Skype, and it was the classic. Same thing you used to read in the emails about the Nigerian scam, but this is it. Wow, this thing just won't die.
They're pretty great. I mean, they've used all available technology. Yeah. This started back, this guy, Ibrahim Abacha, from what I understand, actually did die and leave money somewhere, and nobody knows where it is. But it started in the early 80s through just letters. Then they went through faxes, and then email, and now they're using Skype and Facebook and Twitter and all sorts of things. So they're getting wise. The problem for scam baiters like myself is the Nigerians, the scammers, are getting wise to us. So they right out of the gate, they see, send me money, call me immediately. You can't really screw with them as much anymore, which unfortunately, which is what I did. People don't know the show. I corresponded with a Nigerian scammer for about a year, writing as a version of myself that I guess only my shrink really understands, is this sexually confused millionaire in Florida with a couple cats and a houseboy.
It's one of your many characters.
And just writing him as someone who is rich enough and sort of crazy enough to do the scam with him.
So you got one of the emails.
Yeah.
And you were like, you know what? I'm going for it. Right?
At the time, it was early 2000s. It was everywhere. People, you just get one of these. It was before spam blockers and all that stuff. So you'd get a couple of these every day. And I would always write back with a sentence, "Great, do you have any toast?" Just to see if someone would write back. This non sequitur. Right. And this one guy did. And so it just sort of evolved. And there were other people doing this scam baiting. This one guy was writing as Captain Kirk. On that persona, and sort of inspired by him. And then I was sending the emails around to friends, and Penn Jillette, who's a friend, sort of out of concern for my safety and also for his own entertainment, forwarded it to a former FBI guy who had worked a lot of bunco cases. And this guy was so excited because when he was working with the FBI, couldn't screw with them, but he had all these great ideas on how to screw with them because he had to play it straight when he was working with the FBI. He kept feeding me great ideas, like the code. And if you remember the code in the show, that was totally from this former FBI guy. So it was great. And so then it just progressed, and I kept him on the hook, and I sent him packages and called him. In the show, we play a couple of the phone calls I made to him. The very first performance we did, which is a tryout version, I got everybody in the audience. I took up a collection. I said, whatever you put in this box, I'll send to Nigeria. And I ended up sending this box, and I justified all the stuff, and there were 3 keys. People put keys in the box, and I had said that they were to safety deposit boxes, and so the rest is history. It's a good show.
So did did the guy find out that you were BSing him at one point, and was there a massive response from him, or did it just end communication?
Yes, well, after about 3 months, I built a website, and I started putting the correspondence on the website. And any other scammers who would email me, I'd say, "That's great, do you have any toast? And check out this website." And it would go to my spamscam.com. And so I think my scammer wrote me as another scammer, and I sent him to the website because I got an email from the scammer in the original version saying, "You've broken my heart." And he had found the website.
Wow.
And and so that's where it got a little squirrely, and I had to convince him that it was my houseboy who was playing this prank.
Let's humanize this. It's a real person somewhere else in the world somewhere, right? He's trying to bilk you for money. Yeah. And you had a lot of fun with that person, and it's genius, by the way. But right now, would you have interest in actually meeting him in person for real, or her?
Absolutely, yeah.
You think that person would do it?
I tried, because there was a point where the ending you guys saw was okay. I mean, it's one we performed for several years, but I wanted a better ending. And so one of the things I was trying to do was to get him on the phone on Skype or something and have a post-mortem with him. That never happened. And this was after I got the money and stuff, and he just went away, unfortunately. Because that would have been cool to know what's actually going on with him. I used to joke that there's some guy in Nigeria doing a show about a crazy American with these cats.
Yeah, right.
But maybe that's the case.
There is something fascinating about the amount of time and energy that some of these people will put into their scams. And I just like the human element of it. Like, what's that person doing? How many scams do they have going on at the same time? How much money are they making? What kind of lifestyle are they leading? There's a whole story there that you'll never know,
Yeah, and it's weird, and it's tough.